Hello everyone, welcome to another of Figure Out How I Change Stuff. This is a tutorial on the new Chapel DVR system, and so let's jump right in. We're going to start at the very beginning, turning on the system. That will essentially power up everything down here in these racks and get everything started. To turn on this monitor, there's a power button right there. Turn that on, you'll see the little light come on right there, and then this will start up. Next thing you're going to need to do is turn on the computer for the DVR. That is this box here that says Resi. You're just going to click the power button right there. You'll see a blue light come on in a second. Yep, and then this will start up. Alright, while we're doing this, while this is starting, I'll use this chance to tell you that Resi is the name of the new encoder, and we were using a software called Pro Video Player. Now we're using something called Resi. And it's a little more stable, should be better in the long run. It is not quite as user-friendly when it comes to the seek feature, on how to queue it up and where to set it. So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit. First thing you'll pop up to here is a login window. Alright. Let's talk audio while this is booting. You do still run it through the DVR channel. Remember, these are linked, so if you press it on both buttons, it's going to just turn it on back off. So you only need to press one of those to turn it on. Alright, we're up on this. The username is PV Chapel, and the password is the same as the doors for the worship center, which is 7822. So we're going to sign in. That'll bring us to this. All right, you can see when we signed in here that my test is already running. This is last weekend, and then we have Thursday rehearsal. It typically only keeps a week worth of stuff. All right, I would always go ahead and hit this refresh list just in case for some reason it didn't refresh. You don't want to accidentally pull up last week's stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh. Obviously it's fine because the test is already there. So I'm going to click on the test, and then I'm going to hit select event, because I want that test to be the event that we're pulling from. You could pull from last weekend if you want, or even from the rehearsal. We don't want to. All right, next thing that's going to pop up is, do we want to clear the cache? There is quite a bit of space on this, but we're never going to reuse last weekend's service. So, and that's what's cached at the moment. You can see here last weekend was cached at 3 gigabytes. See that right here? We will never use last weekend again. So when this pops up, you're just going to go ahead and press clear. That'll essentially clear last weekend. Then you're going to see here, this pops up with what was, here's the kicker for this program versus the old program. This is the beginning of the recording. And you can see right here, our timer is at 0. Well, we don't want our timer to be at 0. We want our timer to be live. All right, so what we're going to do then is we're going to take this and we're going to drag it all the way to the right. Now it is live. All right, and then you'll see this is what we're playing right now. It's going to say, in order to do this, you don't have enough bandwidth, and that's essentially because we've pushed it all the way to the end. Our buffer time, how much, where this is at versus how far it's behind, is 32 seconds, which we don't care. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and then I'm going to drag this forward again. And now it's going to say, oh no, your buffer time is 16, 15. So what's happening is we've dragged this to the end, and so we're essentially being as close as physically possible to the worship center right now. Because when Merle gets up, we're going to press pause, and we're going to wait for the chapel to catch up to them. And so our computer's going to have plenty of time to buffer. All right, so don't worry about this right now. It doesn't matter, because when we press pause, when Merle gets up to speak, Normally the chapel has at least one more song, maybe a prayer. You'll have plenty of time to buffer when that time comes. So make sure you're on play, that this is counting, and then make sure it's pulled all the way to the right. That's how you get as close to the current as what the worship center is doing as possible. All right. Next thing, when Merle gets up to speak, when this slide changes here, I'm going to pretend that's Merle getting up to speak, and I'm going to, oh, by the way, you should, darn it, I forgot to hit play. All right, so I'm going to drag this forward again, make sure that we're playing. You should see audio here. This is the audio from the worship center. If that is off, like that, then you don't have any audio from the worship center. You should find the TD as quick as possible. All right. When the next slide changes here, I'm going to press pause and pretend that this slide is the beginning of when Pastor Merle is coming. When Pastor Merle is coming up to speak. All right, but we want to cue that up a little better. We need to slide it back a little bit. So if you press rewind or fast forward, right now you're moving it by 5 seconds. So this is your seek amounts right here. In the old program, you could just have a little bar here and you could like drag it back a little bit or drag it forward. You can't do that on this program. You have to use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a lot slower. Let's say 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. And I'm going to hit back, and it's going to hit it again, hit it again, hit it again. Oh, see it starting to move? All right, too far. So I'm going to go forward one, half a second. But then, like if I go forward half a second, it's going to be too far. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit more. Let's say to 100. Forward, right there. All right. So that's where I want to start Merle. So then whenever the time comes, I'll hit play here, and that will start playing. See our buffer time now? Oops, let me move this out of the way. Now our buffer time is turned white. We're at 1:27. Then that's our buffer time between how far you are behind the worship center. So now you have plenty of time. The computer's caught up. It's not red anymore. That'll all be fine. You'll hit play here to start playing Pastor Merle. When you do that, you also need to undo the audio. I would, if it were me and I were doing this job, I would turn this on after you have it paused. Okay, you can't turn this on before, otherwise you're going to hear the audio coming through while Michael's up there singing, which would not be good. But I am going to go ahead and unmute that once this is paused. And then at the same time, with this hand that I press play on the mouse, I'm going to, with my other hand, I'm going to switch this from iMac to DVR. All right. This DVR is showing essentially what's on this computer because it's DVRing the service essentially. All right. That is it. That is the sum total of the controls. This right here is going to be your biggest issue. If we jump forward, you can jump forward 5 seconds, hit forward again, we're into a different slide. And now it's going to take us a while to get back. There's no drag bar like there was in the other thing. You've got to use this, set your time, and hit back. If you're going back too far, then you got to turn down how far these buttons are working for you. That's the biggest change between this software and the old one. All right, thank you.